now it's serious, guys. So uh let me pass the okay. So October the 1st, today is actually no, tomorrow is gonna be the election day for Brazil. So I'm very excited about that. It's gonna be a great moment. So October the 1st, Mechanics of Mediumship, that's the purpose of
Anna,
our
we
meeting
didn't
today.
see you change the page. I still see the introduction page.
Okay, can you see?
WhatsApp, yes.
Okay. All right. So as usual, let's start with our prayer. Just so we make sure that we have good companies, we have good influence, we have good spirits inspiring and protecting us. So let's close our eyes, elevate our thoughts, keep our minds focused on this great light, this great spirit, you name it, Jesus, Lord, doesn't matter the name, as long as you focus and you feel the love coming from this very elevated being. Dear God, allow the good spirits who accompany us to help us when we are in difficulty and uphold us when we fail. Lord, may they inspire us with faith, hope, and charity. May they be a point of support and inspiration and testimony of your mercy. In short, may we always encounter in them the strength that we lack as we face challenges, the strength to resist to evil suggestions, the faith that saves, and the love that consoles. Beloved spirits and guardian angels, be our protectors during our life's tests. Give us the necessary strength, courage, and resignation. Inspire us towards all that is good. May your sweet influences fill our souls today, tomorrow, and always, until the day we finally meet face to face. And so be it. Amen.
Amen.
So talking about influence, that's why we start with a prayer. And that's why I always, when we finish our meetings, I say a prayer. Because it's so important that we attune our mind with good influences, right? With higher beings. And as we do so, prayer or meditation, those are very good tools for us to protect us. So October the 1st, Mechanics of Mediumship, we still have one more meeting to go. Probably what we are going to do is a wrap up, or we're going to pick some of the most important topics, and then we'll talk about those again in October the 22nd. And then finally we'll meet here in Houston, 11, 12, and 13. So today Luis and Livia, they will finish their topics that they started last time, Errant Spirits, and then Action of Spirits in the Physical Plane. Maria and Josie, they did work putting the slides together. Maria is not feeling well. Her voice is almost none. She has this very bad cold, and so she asked me to try to represent her. So that's what I'm gonna try today. And evidently today is gonna be more like a live discussion. It's not something we We cannot pretend that we are going to teach you anything, because this is really what we are going to talk about is really common sense. So with that, I will pass the ball to you, Luis and Livia.
Okay, thank you, guys. Last time we were talking about this part of the slides is the part about errant spirits. The word errant we explained last time, and this is only a matter of word. Yes, errant in English is something, in Portuguese is something different, and in the Spiritism is another thing. Errant, in a nutshell, is a spirit that has to reincarnate, right? That needs reincarnation. Well, and the spirit that's errant, and erraticity is the environment, the ambience where spirits who need to reincarnate still live. So you're talking about spirit realms around the earth, around other planets, and the need of reincarnation, right? Of course, the books by Chico Xavier were very revolutionary in Brazil, because of the characteristic of his mediumship, but was very precise. He was something that was talking to you, and all the time the phenomenon happened. I remember him, for example, he went to a dentist, and the dentist was a non-believer, and Chico Xavier cited the whole name, said, oh, there's a guy here called this, and this, full name, and he was helping you. And he started giving all the details of the guy's life. So it was all the time like this. And because of this, the information that comes through Chico Xavier deserved the attention of the scientists, of the spiritists, even those who kind of thought the revelations sort of controversial. So I always applied to Chico Xavier's mediumship revelations, right? The very close attention, because many times what science or even the spiritists said, no, in the end, at the end of the day, it was the truth, right? Even scientifically speaking. So this is something that because there are many things, there are lots of revelations. For instance, how is nature on the spiritual plane? There are some books like Evolution Between Two Worlds. I think Anna put some citations here, some excerpts from this book. This book, you need a kind of a medical dictionary to read it. There's a dictionary to read this book here in Brazil, because there are so many technical terms that comes from the biological field that you need to get in touch with this. It was received by Chico Xavier and another medium who was also a doctor. And so these are theses, no problem. And sometimes you can discuss here, well, I don't think this happens in the spiritual realm. I do think it happens. So yes, I think so. It's not, there are theses, and the spirits say, look, we are saying something to you for you to think it over, right? We don't intend to do something revolutionary, but that's the way things happen here in our spirit realms, right? So let's go on, please, Anna, about this. This comes from a Spiritist magazine called Reformer from April 2010, and they're saying by Martin Tunis Moda, nature on the spiritual plane reflects the mental emissions of its inhabitants, being organized with similar elements to those of the physical plane, however further perfected and light, since matter is found in a dimension with a different vibration. So for example, the lower zones, they were not made to be lower zones, but the spirits who have a specific perispirit weight, they will be on the same plane with the same kind of thoughts. And of course, the reflection of their thoughts is going to make the environment the way the environment is, usually darker, usually sad, and very ran down place, you know, like this.
At the end of the day, they will influence the psychosphere,
Fear.
right?
Yes. Yeah. Of the inhabitants on the earth, right?
Mhm.
The next is from this book I've just talked to you about, Evolution in Two Worlds, right? There's this book in English already, and those who like the scientific, you know, approach of the subject, it's a must reading this book.
Yep.
Plants and animals domesticated by human intelligence throughout millennia can be acclimated, and improved for determined periods of existence, with the intention to return to their nucleus of origin in the terrestrial earth, so they can advance in the evolutionary pilgrimage. So this is something interesting, right? We're talking about animals, also plants. And remember, there's a theory, there's a problem in science. I think the terminology in English is the lost linkage, or the missing linkage, right? Because some people don't understand why the evolutional scale, the evolutional road, kinds of leaps from one point to the other. According to the spirits, it's because that species goes on evolving in the spiritual realms, and then influences another kind of physical organism, and this physical organism develops very fast to the other stage. So there's a missing link between one point of the biological evolution and the other point of that biological evolution. So this is because of this evolution that happens in happens in this case of biological missing link. There's someone, I think, asked me that, was it for me, the question, do you think Hitler was reincarnated? Well, I think this is very personal. I think Hitler may be reincarnating, yes, but sometimes what happens to those people who did very wrong things on earth or anywhere, every time they reincarnate, so that they can redeem to their mistakes, they need to be reincarnated in very different situations. For example, Chico Xavier used to visit those outback places in the countryside, and sometimes he spotted someone who was in a very difficult situation, very difficult condition, with not very good reasoning. And he said, look, this is General, what's his name? He did this, and that. And he's hidden here in this body, because if his people or his enemies discover that he's here, he won't have a minute of peace to start it over again as revolutionary redemption, right? So this is something that I think may happen to Hitler or someone like that. I don't know if it's only here on Earth or somewhere else, you know. And
So
please,
can we say then, because sometimes we say errant spirits, we are talking about human beings, but actually can be any being, right?
yes, anything.
As long as that being needs to reincarnate.
Reincarnate, yes. And this is something very interesting, this Kathy's answer, and that Kathy's question, because reincarnation has lots of uses, right? Not only reincarnate, wants to be here, because there's lots of medical uses. And sometimes there's a lot of side effects for reincarnation. For example, we guys are suspect because we who have been getting in touch with the spiritual knowledge, sometimes we are older spirits. And for older spirits, reincarnation has its side effects, collateral effects, because we are doing it over again. We are repeating a lot. So this spiritual knowledge comes to us for us to stop repeating our passages on earth. And if we don't stop repeating, things can kind of collapse in the near future. So That's why the apostle, I think it was John the Baptist, Sing, please help me, that he says, well, the axe is at the root of the trees. The axe is at the roots of the trees. So please repent or things will get worse. You understand what he says? That yes, it is said that Martin Luther King was a bad slave owner, reincarnated to pay for his mistakes. Yes, can be, right?
Yeah.
Can be, yes. Because look, people, politics, for example, suppose you've been a poor man for 8 reincarnations, 10 reincarnations, you are used to poverty. But if you were a noble in France and suddenly you reincarnate in a favela, in a slum in Brazil, maybe you will become a very famous politician full of anger against other people who are richer, full of, you know, and then you're going to make some progress. Yes, you're going to be a revolutionary guy or something like this. But many times these guys are exactly those nobles, right, from the past. So then vice versa too. So reincarnation has explains lots of things to us. That's very beautiful, I guess, right? Okay, let's move on.
Law of cause and effect.
Law of cause and effect, yes.
Yeah. All right.
How do the spirits change places in the spiritual plane? Very good, that's it. Well, the more materialized spirits normally use their legs and feet. Yes, there are some spirits that they live exactly like we do, right? Here, they have no difference. I don't know if I told you once I was in a meeting and a Mediumistic circle, right? It was a seance. And I was directing the seance, and one of the spirits, and everybody started feeling nothing in the meeting. Lots of mediums, about 17 people, nobody feeling, right? They were feeling just, you know, kind of blank. Me too, right? And suddenly, a spirit came through a meeting and said, look, guys, you are deluded people. There are no spirits here. The only spirits who are here are we, us. But we are physical. We breathe. We have blood in our veins. And the other spirits that you may have seen, it's an illusion, because they were people, materialistic people, right, on the other side. So they didn't see anything else but what they believed in, matter, right? So it was very funny because really we felt that sensation that there was nothing there. And then after they came through and we talked to them, right, peacefully, the other spirits, right, came through and said, look, people, this is an example how things work here on the spiritual plane, right? If you focus your belief on something, you're going to meet that, right? But sometimes that is not the truth, or many times not. Right? Spiritual realm is a very tricky place. Next.
Meaning the spirits will see only the whatever they are interested or.
Yes, that's it. Yeah. Very interested in. And that's why sometimes they move to, right? For example, in the book, The Messengers by Chico Xavier, he was walking around the streets of Rio de Janeiro, Rio, and started raining. And he saw lots of monsters, very deformed spirits, right? Clinging onto cars and going into restaurants to run from the rain, to search shelter from the rain, because they felt the rain, just like any one of us here reincarnated, right? And Andre Luis said that they were going towards him, but they backed away from them. And the spirit said, because you have the habit of praying. So they are afraid of your vibrations, right? But that's the way they saw the atmosphere here on the spirit in the physical plane, right? Next is the others move about through volitation of their paraspiritual body. Anyone who's had a lucid dream or who's had an OBE knows that we can go sometimes, right, floating over the places doing this kind of movement with your arms like this, right? And then there's a kind of a breathing exercise for you to go higher or lower. So if we here in the emancipation state of the soul that is sleeping, we can do this, not to say when you are out of sight of you're discarnated, right? Next, volutation has the same meaning as flying or hovering. It is to move above the ground without the assistance of any tools or vehicles. I'll tell you something that happened to me, right? How these experiments change your life values. I remember once I had an OBE, a very strong one, and I started flying, hovering over an avenue near my house. And it was so pleasurable, so pleasant, the situation and the sensation. And I thought to myself, I'd like to listen to very beautiful music to accompany, right, to this kind of scenery that. And suddenly I started listening to an orchestra playing a piece of music that I liked. It was wonderful. And then I looked at a car dealer's store that was near my house. And I could see some Mercedes-Benz and some very expensive cars being sold there. And I said, my goodness, I'm here flying over an avenue, listening to sound surround system of an orchestra, and some people that on that planet down there, they steal to get a car that can't even fly. So it's something that changes your value when you live a situation like that. So this is me. Imagine a guy like Chico Xavier and other guys, right? The way they live, the way they value things, much different, right? Next is, in some spiritual cities, the inhabitants use vehicles that transport them from one place to another, even if they can use volutation. In case of Nosso Lar, the astral city, André Luiz explains that the superior spirits, they do not volutate all the time because this could humiliate people who cannot volutate, right? So yes, that's they said, no, we don't use volutation here, so we use some vehicles normally. The lower the zone is, the more vehicles, technology you need. The higher the zone is, this technology is substituted for your self-talents, right? I remember a guy, as a spirit that manifested here in Brazil, and then he, through writing, the mechanical writing, he said something very interesting. He said he was here on Earth treating a person, and he was using a kind of psychoscope. Was a mechanism, it was a device, electronic or magnetic device, to probe some people's auras and state of mind. And he said that he could see as clear as never, right? Had never seen as clear as that, was able to see that. And he was getting enthusiastic about that and started trying to help the person very powerfully. But when he looked back, it was a very superior spirit with his hand over him and the other person too. So all that power, all that capacity, even from the electronic device he was using, was coming from the higher spirit that was behind me. He was kind of a little bit disappointed, but that's it. The higher the spirit realm, the less technology you need, the less devices you need, and so on and so forth. And the last one, on the other hand, rapid volutation is the characteristic of evolved spirits who can move with incredible speed. By the way, we need to understand that many times when you are out of body, you are moving with the whole physical, the perispiritual body, and also the mental body. But sometimes we're just traveling with our mental body, which is faster, but it's less, right? You can be more easily, you You can have some fantasies when you're, for example, when I concentrate to see here, for example, and I say, let's go to Giles' home. Let's put our hands on him. Let's pray for him. Let's pretend we are getting into his house right now. Suppose we know his house. So it may be happening, maybe not, but it may be happening. All right. Because our mental body can go faster, but it's many times less real. And sometimes it's happening for sure, sometimes it's not. It depends on your training to distinguish that. Please, Anna, next.
Yeah, and I'd like to add something to that, Luis, because it is something that we all, it's an attribute that we all have, right? Because, and sometimes it happens and we do not even know. Like, when I remember I was working in my office in South Korea, and all of a sudden I was thinking about this beautiful tree that used to be that there is actually still there. There is right at the beginning of the street that I used to live in Manchester. So I was thinking about the season, and I said, oh, at this time that beautiful tree must be golden, all so I was thinking about it, and I could actually see in my mind the tree. Well, on that same day, I received a note of a friend of mine who was living there and was passing because she used to live nearby the house, my house. And then she said that she saw me on that place looking at the tree. So it happens even when you don't know. It's natural, right?
Yeah, I've been seen once on a very famous avenue here in Belo Horizonte. But the person was really kind of surprised to see me there at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I was outside of my body at 3 o'clock in the morning at that time, right? But the person, Lucia, I can't swear it was you, but you were walking aimlessly, and I couldn't stop because I had to take some friends to the hospital or something like this. And no, maybe it was not me for sure, right? It was just because it happens when you are out of your body, you are carrying the spiritist, the perispirit, and also the how can I say, the double etheric, I think is what we call double etheric, the double etheric, yes. And so it's very heavy. A person who has some mediumship can see it very well. Open-eyed, right?
Yeah.
Okay, one.
All right, so
how do discarnate spirits communicate with each other? Let's go on. Let's move on. His spirits understand themselves through telepathic communication, projecting their own mental images. Remember that, people. Everything we say here will depend a lot on the spirit and his community, right? They also use articulated language, usually between incarnates, above all in the regions closest to the physical plane. Yes. Chico Xavier used to call these places the plains of nations, where people used to get attached to their language, their habits, their cultural habits, which goes kind of fading away as they go, right, getting upper and upper in the spiritual realms. Those habits and those cultural things go kind of waning down, right? Well, as far as they go farther in the up in the spirit realms. The next one, spirits of a medium evolution do not immediately detach themselves from the linguistic dictates that characterizes the native language of the last incarnation, right? Yes, because that's why many, for example, I used to participate in a meeting in a place here in Belo Horizonte. Leda still participates in that meeting. Now she is my substitute there, right? And in the seance. And in that seance, we used to read books in English. And remember, Leda, do you still do this there, Leda? Do you still read books in English there? You're muted.
Oh, sorry. We still do. We still, and occasionally we have English-speaking spirits that come through, and it's very nice.
Yes, that's it. And it's very interesting, very interesting. I remember once I prayed for a medium that she wanted some help. But the medium, I think you know her, her name is Marion Demper Jeans. She asked me for something else, and there was a very interesting spirit. Of course, I cannot speak about that here because it was a private thing, but it was very interesting, right? The spirits came through in English, and we had to talk to him in English and so on and so forth. But because the spirit needed that, right? He wouldn't be able to capture my thought and so on and so forth. This is not for everybody there, right? And the last one, in the superior regions, the process is completely mental. Of course, the higher you are, right, the more mental you approach language. Move on, please, Anna. The discarnate spirit eat. The discarnates nourish themselves, but in a different way from the physical plane, since the digestive system of the perispirit presents restrictive modifications appropriate to the intake of more fluidic food. You know, remember who read the Astral City, that there was a kind of problem there, kind of a riot because of food, because people were kind of getting food from the lower zones, and the governor of the city decided to treat it in a very, adamant way and forbade getting food from the lower zones, right? The people wanted to eat kind of barbecue in in the astral cities and the governor didn't like that because he wanted to raise the city to another level, to the next step. So it was a kind of a problem there because of this. The food is absorbed. What?
But even in the movie, Luis, when they show the scenes of the hospital and all the patients over there, so they have this soup. Actually, was just a ball of very fluidic soup.
Yeah, that's it. No gumbo, right?
Yeah, but
No
it
gumbo,
was
no.
not. It was not always like that. They had this fight there because of the food, and they had to go to the lower zone to get the food, and it was dangerous to the city because of that. And because in the city there wasn't this kind of food, but they
Kind
made
of
traffic.
yeah.
They
As a-
made like a traffic.
smuggling. They were smuggling
Smuggling.
food from the lower zones, right?
Yeah.
This
This
was
is-
lowering the
Yeah.
state of mind of the city.
Yeah.
You know
And-
sorry. Continue. Go ahead.
Go on.
That's it.
What I like about those experiences that André Luis showed us, because it pictures exactly what happens to us. I mean, it's not because we transition to the other side that everything changes. It will not change overnight, right? It's gonna be there will be a very slow process for us to get used to the new reality and elevate us, so, and also it tells me that even though, yes, we do transition to the other side, but seems like we still stay very close to this realm, right? To this dimension. I mean, we are not transitioning to higher realms all of a sudden. We stay very, very close to this psychosphere, if you will.
Yes, the point is exactly. The point is we need to help each other. The more we help, the more help we'll be able to receive. in those situations, do you understand?
Mhm.
Because by helping people, by, giving yourself to others, no coffee.
No, please, I can't stand without coffee.
Oh my goodness. I think people, we are all gonna be on the same spirit realm. I'm not gonna miss you, right? Yeah, with OS, right? Does anyone here like chocolate? Okay. So I'll be there. Okay. The next is the food is absorbed. But this one is from the book Evolution in Two Worlds, right? This very scientific book. The food is absorbed through cutaneous diffusion in the spirit that, via their extreme porousness, they nourish themselves of products that are subtle or chemic electromagnetic synthesis, absorbed in nature's reserve, and the exchange of vitalizing rays and energies of love, which they begin to sustain each other. Well, so this paragraph can give you an illustration of what this kind of book speaks about. It's not easy to grasp, right, in a minute or two. You have to read it carefully. And if you do this, you will understand some kinds of communications, what the spirits, and what's beautiful. And you study those books, people, and you will deal with mediumship. The spirits are free to go on and speak to you more and explain to you more. And that's why sometimes you see, well, so this is true, because wherever you go, for example, you sit down in the spirit realm, in the spirit circle, or mediumistic circle, and then comes through a spirit speaking to you about those things, and nobody there knows about that, right? And it explains more, it gives you more information. So, so that thesis that is written in that book is something that has some fundamental truths, right, underlying it. Okay, Anna, please. How do discarnate spirits dress themselves? This is something I never explained to myself. When I get out of my body, I am dressed, usually. Not always with the clothes I was wearing, like pajamas, for example. Usually as a piece of an item of clothing from the past that I used to wear 10 years ago. And it's funny, isn't it, how things happen like this? Well, in general, this is from the Medium's book. In general, spirits often appear dressed in tunics, developed in flowing drapery or in ordinary clothes. Usually these missionaries, they like wearing tunics to not incentivate, to not elicit any kind of image in the spirits they're trying to help. For example, in the spirit release mediumistic circle, we avoid, the spirits ask us to avoid pictures on the wall, to avoid images, to avoid paintings, to avoid a very decorated table, because everything can recall traumas from the past, must be avoided. Do you understand? Because this is a spirit release meeting and not an experimental meeting. It's spirit release, because many times a spirit comes to you and there is a painting that reminds him or her of something very bad. So this can be used for kind of hinder the treatment of the spirit. This is very fun, very interesting indeed. And when I am in a spiritist meeting, a spirit release meeting, we try to be in a place as simple as possible, right? Because of this. The clothing of less evolved spirits, attending to their personal tastes, vary from simple to princely costumes. Yes, it happens, right? There are spirits that use specific clothing and accessories of certain professions too. But there are spirits who just wear like this in order to be identified by the medium. You understand? Sometimes the spirits don't wear glasses anymore, but if they don't wear glasses and they show themselves the way they used to wear here on earth, the medium or the others won't identify them, right? The superior spirits present themselves haloed by tourmaline luminosity. Their clothing are bright, billowy, and resplendent. Do you remember, if you've seen documentary I've shown in on my channel, Spirit Connections, about the medium Peixotinho in Brazil? This medium used to do materializations together with Chico Xavier, and several spirits from astral city materialized there, and together with some devices, right, electronic or magnetic devices, and everybody was delighted to see, like the minister Clarencio, right, materializing in front of everybody in the meeting in Rio de Janeiro state.
They could see because of the luminosity.
And they could see the spirit because they were very luminous.
Yeah.
Right. So it was beautiful, very beautiful. Right. Next, please. Okay. Now it's Josie and Maria. People, because tomorrow we have elections here in Brazil. Today is a very busy day because we're going to get some visitors here for us, and we need to leave earlier. We excuse, right, ourselves. Thank you so much. I love watching those faces, dear faces for me, right? See you. Unfortunately, I haven't heard everybody today, like Art people. Let me tell you something. Art last meeting, he shut us up, right? Remember that. The Art suddenly, out of the blue, out of nothing, he said everything that we wanted to say. And I said, well, people, let's wrap up the meeting. Let's call it a day.
That's it.
We're going to have here now. We're going to do here now. And he said, he summarized everything. It was very nice. Okay, guys, see you there next week. Take care.
Thank you, Luis.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Olivia.
Thank
Talk
you.
to you later.
That all came from the OWASP.
Ah, yeah. But you picked it up, right? Bye.
Yeah. Bye, Luis. All right. So, well, like I said, Maria, she's not feeling well. And Maria and Josie, they put together this material. So I will try to represent her. So we are going to talk about the action of spirits in the physical plane. And really, I'm not going to say anything new to you, but just remind you about those common sense things, right? So the question then is, what is the action of influence of the spirits of a matter over our thoughts, and whether or not they will influence our lives, our actions, our decisions? So this is more like a discussion, right, within the group. So the first question they put together here for us was in the question 457 from the book, from the Spirits book. Can spirits know our most secret thoughts? What do we think? Yes, Gloria saying yes. Una saying yes. Yes, Giles.
About your spirit and secret thoughts, I'm given to understand from my automatic writing that spirits have some degree of modesty. And if they know they're intruding, they stop and back off. And this, I imagine, I'm just guessing now, I'm not pretending to be psychic, I'm just remembering what I read, that they back off and leave you alone until a more appropriate time. So I think that the answer is maybe sometimes.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly right. Because the ones who have that kind of modesty will be the ones with some principles, with some education, with moral values, right? So yeah, the answer is they often see what you would like to hide from yourselves. neither acts nor thoughts can be concealed from them. But again, this is not something that they will actually do if they have, noble principles. We all have, in addition to the common immediate desires at any stage of life, a core desire or basic theme of the most intimate interests. Therefore, in addition to the vulgar thoughts that imprison us in the routine experience, we more frequently emit the thoughts that are born from the central desire that characterizes us, thoughts that become the reflection of our personality. In this way, it is easy to know the nature of any person. So, if you remember, when we talk about the perispirit, we mentioned that our thoughts and everything that we keep in, our mind busy with will be reflected in our perispirit. So that's how the spirits, they are able to, the ones who are able to see, the ones who are in the same level as us, right? So they will be able to see, and then they will be able to recognize who we are and what kind of thoughts and the quality of thoughts we have. But evidently, they have to be in the same attunement as we do. And the higher the spirits, and the more, the broader will be their ability to see, to actually capture what we are thinking, right? But like Giles was saying, and he's right, the higher the spirits, the more they will respect us in that matter. So the second question is question 5.2. Sorry, go ahead.
Can I add
Yes.
that if we're talking about normal humans, this is people who have had many incarnations and are proceeding on the path, proceeding on the path. If we're talking about lower spirits, it's always this question of who's had how many incarnations, because if you're near the end of your incarnations, then you openly invite people to help you with your innermost thoughts, because you want encouragement and direction.
Exactly.
If you are among the lower classes of persons who have not had many incarnations, then you deny everything and reject everything, and you don't want to know, and you go on with your nasty, selfish thoughts, if indeed you're cooking up to them, and there's nothing much anybody can do about it. Sorry, I was just interrupting.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, what you said reminded me some of the books. I will not remember because I will not remember exactly the title of the book, because there are so many books that they describe the same phenomena, like when you have this crew, this team of spirits, higher spirits, and then they have this mission to go to the lower zones and help somebody that is there, like the same way like André Luiz was helped when he finally said a prayer. He was in this lower realm and he was suffering for 8 years or so, and finally he recalled about saying a prayer. It was the exact moment when those spirits, they came, and then because he established that connection, so the spirits, they came to take him to the astral sphere, right? So it is funny because all the books describing this experience or this scenery, they will say that some of the spirits in those lower realms, they cannot really see the higher spirits because they are not at the same frequency. They are not at the same vibration, right? So the question is now 525. Do spirits exert any influence on the events of life? And then the next question, 525A, do they exert this influence in another way besides the thoughts they suggest? That is, act directly on the accomplishment of things. Do they influence on events of life or not? What do you think? Yes, no, maybe, sometimes. One doesn't fit all, like Jaya said.
No. Do they directly influence human affairs? That'll be the day. Maybe 1,000 years from now, don't hold your breath, when politicians will be communicating with the afterlife and saying, what is the best course of action here? Tell us something that we need to know. That'll be the day. And it won't be, and the answer is spirits. Oh dear, I guess spirits can affect what goes on the earth, but they affect it in fairly unpleasant ways is the only way I can describe it, and that is by stirring up a hurricane because we've been stupid. I don't think spirits can have direct intervention unless requested and petitioned.
Thank you, Giles. Hi, thing. Oh, you are on mute.
That's exactly what I was going to say, because people pray and ask for help and they get help.
That's exactly, yeah. So in another way, by praying, we are saying, yes, we accept the help. Yeah, please
help
come.
us. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Claudia.
Everything I've read says that when you get an inspiration, not to ignore it. And so I'm thinking the thoughts they suggest, yeah, they suggest things to us, and it's on us then to follow through with them if they're going in the right direction.
My goodness, you read the answer before.
Oh, sorry.
So Leda, please. Thank you. You were on the spot.
I'd like to say that we all influence one another, even here on Earth. When we are in a group like this, the action of one of us influences everybody else. Our example, our sayings, our actions, our thoughts, even. We are always changing ideas, changing vibrations. So we influence, like, for example, if you are in a line waiting for a bank cashier to attend, you're in the supermarket. If it's taking a long time and one person starts complaining, then everybody else will start complaining, because we influence one another.
It's the attitude, not only the words, but yeah. Thank you, Leda. Hi, Sif.
Yes, you get, as Doris says, you get the inspiration and you have to respond. The offer is there, but you must respond. And if you don't respond, then you lose it.
You lose it. Exactly. Yeah. And that's, you guys were spot on. Like, if, like Leda was saying, if we do have some influence on each other, and it's so amazing. I am here in Houston and you guys are there in your houses miles and miles away, but somehow we are influencing each other. So thinking about us living in this world that is surrounded by spirits, right? So let's do a quick math over here. We are 8.5 billion people, incarnated people. And the spirits, they say, for every single incarnated being, there are 4 others on the spiritual world. Meaning, let's round it, 33 billion of beings out there. So it's not that we are here and they are there. No, we are all together. We are surrounded. We are immersed in this ocean, right, of beings. So evidently, it's simple physics. They will impact on us the same way that we impact on them, right? So the answer is certainly, since they advise you, they do talk to us more so often. And then they continue, yes, but they never act outside of laws of nature, meaning they will respect our free will, right? Thus, for example, they will provoke the meeting of two people who they will think they meet by chance. They will inspire someone with the idea of going through such a place. They will draw their attention to a certain point. If this leads to the result they desire in such a way that man, believing that he or she, right, is only following his or her own impulse, man always retains his or her free will, right? So it's going to be up to us, like Hyacinth and Gloria was saying, you know, they will suggest, they will point that out. Whether or not we are going to follow or we're going to miss it is up to us, right? So the spirits influence the events of our life as they advise us, either for good or for evil, but it's up to us to spare us the evils or at least to pay attention to them. God has given us intelligence so that we can use it and know how to distinguish good from evil. So that's why it's so important for us to know ourselves, to know our weaknesses. So we can avoid the bad influences, knowing our weaknesses. If I know that I'm craving for chocolate, but I cannot, so I better obey, right? Because if I cannot, I have diabetes, whatever. So why should I, keep on disobeying and falling because of a chocolate? So it's up to me, right? So, and then they complete, the brain is the instrument that translates the mind, the source of our thoughts. Through it, we unite ourselves to light or darkness, good or evil. So again, it's simple physics. We are here thinking about so many things, and evidently that those thoughts that will emit, there will be, those waves of thoughts will be emitting everywhere in the globe. And like those radios, as soon as I move or change my frequency, I will then have an attunement with whatever other vibrations, other frequency, as long as they are the same, boom, you connect for good or for evil or for bad suggestions. Joseph, sorry.
I just want to reinforce that that's why self-knowledge is so important, because when you know yourself, and you can identify, for example, you have a thought, a very aggressive thought or a very revengeful thought, you know yourself, you can identify that this thought doesn't come from you. And you can start thinking,
Exactly.
oh, I would not think about that. Why I'm thinking about that? And then you can identify the frequency of the influence.
Yeah.
And another thing I would like to say, it's like the best way to protect ourselves from them is what Anna just said, keep your vibration up. Because if you do that, they cannot reach you. And then who can reach you, it's not gonna evade your privacy because they have no interest to do it. So
Exactly.
two best ways to protect ourselves. Self-knowledge, so you understand what's yours and what came from them. And second one, keep your vibration. So if you think about it, it's more, we open the door.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah.
If you just take care of ourselves, nothing happened.
Yeah.
In the
Thank
end, it's we letting them do it. So it's everything about us.
Yeah. Thank you. Very good points. Gloria.
I think sometimes, just because we're humans, without the self-knowledge, of course. I'm thinking of experiences that I've had or experienced in the past. In moments of weakness, it opens the door to what we're referring to as evil. But an example would be a very dear man I knew. He did just fine. His dad was an alcoholic, and he did just fine until his dad died, and there was so much unresolved between them. And I think his dad then influenced him, and he then became a practicing alcoholic. I think he was weakened by his grief and what was unresolved between them, and he became negatively influenced by his father and his grandfather's alcoholism, and then went down that road. Not that I don't think he chose it so much as it was a very strong influence on him when he was in a weakened condition.
Yeah. What you said is very important and so common. So that's why, we should pay attention to the watch and pray, right?
I think
Pray and
I
watch.
think Una would have something to say about that, and I basically disagree with that statement, because if you're going to be an alcoholic, it's your own challenge. You can't pretend because your dad was an alcoholic or your granddad was an alcoholic so that's what influenced me. Well, it would have the opposite effect, if anything.
Yeah, but it's not as. Go ahead, Gloria.
I disagree, Giles.
Yes.
Parents were very physically abusive, and I had to fight myself as a young mother not to put my hands on my children. And to me, that's not that different from alcoholism. And to this day, my adult children thank me for breaking that cycle of violence that was in our family. And I'm telling you, I know this man. He did not want to be an alcoholic, but he was in such deep grief that he began self-medicating. And I don't think it was a choice on his part. I think he was influenced.
I have a
Love
personal.
your term. I love your term, self-medicating.
No, but I have a personal experience, not me, but somebody very close to me, and it was exactly the same, Gloria. It was exactly the same. I mean, that person, that kid, he was suffering from his father being very abused and drinking all the time, and then I remember him saying, that he would never repeat the same, but voila. Choices. Leda, please.
The drinking problem is actually more common than we think. I have in my family as well. And that happens because sometimes the spirits, when it discarnates, right? When he or she discarnates, he or she, they won't go very far from home sometimes, because sometimes if they have this addiction, they will want to remain close to Earth, and mostly they are inside their own houses with their families. So if they want to drink, they will ask for their closest ones to drink for them, like someone said about the coffee. But if it's alcohol, they will say, come on, drink for me, and they will absorb these fluids.
The sensation, not the fluid, but the sensation.
Yeah, through the closest ones. So this influence is much more material than we think. It's not just the example. It's the ideas, the thoughts, and the fluids.
It is almost like an obsession, right?
It is an obsession. It is an obsession. It is. So that's why it's so common, because they are around and they will get closer to the people who are that tune with them. And usually the loved ones are the ones that tune with them easier.
Yeah. Agree. Thank you, Linda. And think about what you're discussing here is mechanics of mediumship. So those are the things that we need to pay attention as mediums, you know, sitting on a circle. We need to pay attention. We need to be very responsible, and we need to be very much aware of our weaknesses, so we do not fall, or we do not, you know, play those roles as, you know, some of the spirits they might suggest us, right? So Una, please.
Thanks. I can't speak about alcoholism, but I am reading a book at the moment by a man called Kyle Gray, who is an angel communicator. He's Scottish, and the chapter I was reading today was about families and family patterns and things like that, and abuse patterns and things like that, and how it does influence the person on this realm as well as on this plane, as well as the regret that the spirit feels when it passes back into the other plane. But you can see it work its way through generations, and you can see it work its way through relationship patterns then on this plane in the people who are left behind. It's very interesting.
Yeah, and I guess it goes very much along with what Gloria was saying. And thank you, Gloria, for sharing your experience. But I truly believe in this cycle, in the generation, in the same family. I mean, yeah. Anyway, we have so many other things to. This is a very vast and interesting point. And that by itself would be, you know, could take an entire afternoon just talking about it. Josie, please.
I just want to make a point between Giles and Gloria. We cannot forget that we own our lives. We have the realms of our lives in our hand. But for example, the case Gloria brought, the dead guy, he lowered his frequency. He let that happen, and then the influence happened. And then it's really hard for you to fight against it because you're in the same level. But I kind of see what Giles says. If you are able, even in the hard situation, keep your vibration up, even the dead would not reach him. But it's hard because when you lose somebody you love, when something happens, the tendency you go down. But remember, everything is in your hands. Yeah. Any spirit is gonna influence you if you do not allow to, or if you're not the same vibration. So it's a balance between Giles and Gloria. And Giles, remember, and Gloria, we love the sentence, the same size doesn't fit everybody, right? So it's case by case by case. But I really think we are the owner of our lives. But in this planet, it's really hard to keep always a good frequency. So this influence not easily, but there is a more chance to happen on us.
Yeah. Agree. So the next question then, 459, Book of Spirits. Do spirits influence our thoughts and actions? Evidently, right?
What we are talking the entire time.
Much more than what you can imagine, for they are often the ones who direct you. And I would say who direct you if you allow, right? If you open the door.
And remember, self-knowledge, right, Annie? If you have self-knowledge, you know what's yours and what is not yours.
What is not yours,
guys. I'm just saying we should work on that.
As a matter of fact, let me bring an example that just happened to me this morning. Tomorrow is going to be election day in Brazil, and I received this message from a friend of mine. He is a spiritualistic as well. And then he sent me this note saying, look at this note from this Spiritist Center in Brazil, so-and-so. It's a message from Eurípides Barçanufo. Eurípides Barçanufo is he used to be a doctor I don't know, in the 40s or 50s in Brazil. No, in the 40s. And he today he is a very known spirit in Brazil because there are so many messages and books that he helped, right, on psychograph. So he's very elevated spirits, and then my friend was saying, so this Spiritist Center, they received this message from Euripides Bassanufo. I said, okay, so it must be a very nice one. So I started reading the message, and the message was saying that, you know, as tomorrow is going to be the election, then we all should pray, we all should pay attention to our thoughts, we all should be should keep this attitude of peace and with balance and you know, faith in God, etc., etc., etc. And everything, the whole message was beautiful, was, you know, pretty, and I did agree with it. But at the end, at the very end, then the message starts talking about, well, we need to pray because, you know, tonight there is going to be a lot of spirits, bad spirits coming from the lower realms, and that these spirits, they influence the politicians in charge right now, and the ones, you know, running the election. So we need to fight against us. And then I said, okay, so wait a minute. There is not such a thing, you know. There's not going to be. We need to pay attention to who we are and what kind of messages we are getting, because it's not because they transition to the other side that all of a sudden they become people holding high moral values. Right, so there are spirits that they will try to pass the message. They will pretend to be somebody else, and then they will try to guide someone to do something. In this case, that spirit of Euripides Barçanufo was saying that, you know, the guys, you know, whoever is in charge of the Brazilian government today is guided by very lower spirits, etc., etc. Guys, there is not going to be such a thing. You know, if a higher spirit is going to talk to you, is going to send you a message, that spirit, like Giles was saying, will hold modesty, will respect us, we will respect our choices, we will respect, you know, all the choices that the Brazilian citizens will be doing today. They will never interfere in something like this, you know, politicians, those kind of things. This is like, you know, is a human thing, you know. It's not for a spirit to say, okay, vote this or vote that because this guy is a bad guy and this guy is a good guy. No, there's no, do not deceive yourselves. Do not fall on things like this, because it's a you know, it's a no-no. You can tell right away. Okay, so either this is animism, the medium perhaps has an inclination to a certain, you know, party, or either the spirits talking through that medium is not who he or she is saying to be. So we have to be very cautious. Hi, Seth.
Yes, I agree that you have to be cautious in these matters, but what I understand is there are always the lower spirits who are always trying to make problems.
Yeah. Yes.
And there are the people today who want to make problems, and they can employ the use of these evil to do this. And so this, we have to be very, very careful.
Yeah. Again, watch and pray, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
And
next,
also,
sorry.
before what they're saying, before any good change can come, because the lower spirits recognize that change is coming, they go all out to prevent that change.
They
So
try
there
everything
is
in their
always
power.
this fight. Yes.
Yes, exactly. They try everything in their power. That's exactly
Yes.
right. Yeah.
Yes.
So, thank you. Question 4, 5, 6. Do spirits see everything we do? Do they see everything we do? Art, you're laughing. You're thinking about something naughty you've done. So do they see everything we do or no? Maybe.
I was looking at Giles' chat. The motivation they have is to raise Cain, and they enjoy that.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So the answer is they can see, for they constantly surround you, but each one only sees the things to which they pay attention to and does not concern himself or herself with those which are indifferent to him or her, right? So it's a matter of attention and motivation, like what Giles was saying. So why do spiritual influence processes occur, and why is that, right? So the answer is on an attribute that we all have, every single human being. We do have, at some level, we will hold some mediumship capability. So it is an attribute of any incarnate men or women, and it does allow us to communicate or to establish some form of communication with the spiritual realm. So in the Book of Spirits, they say that the reflection of ourselves in thought-to-thought contacts without the need for words for fundamental sympathies or repulsions. We attract the same energy and frequency we emanate in the universe. Spirits stay around incarnates that have the same habits and addiction, for good or for bad. So same thing that we discussed a few minutes ago. In the spiritual world, the same, you are a reflection of the people you hang out with, doesn't work. It is rather the opposite. The person you are, meaning the moral values, the integrity, etc., will determine who or what class of spirit you will hang out with. So it's as simple as that. We stay together. Like that's, I guess we are a group because this group, it is what it is, because we hold similar moral values or similar values, right? So it's going to be the same in the spiritual realm, and between incarnated and discarnated or spirits. The second reason why those processes occur is the intuition. Intuition, Chico Xavier used to say that intuition is a form of mediumship, and intuition is actually the mediumship of the future. So Chico, in his books, in his interviews, he used to say that that in the future we will not need a middleman or a medium so we can talk to the spiritual realm, or they can talk to us by intuition, or we will evolve our ability or our intuition. Then we'll be constantly, it's going to be natural, this communication with them. So in the Book of Spirits, they say, if man could contemplate with his own eyes the currents of thoughts, he would immediately recognize that we all live in the regime of communion, according to the principles of affinity. It is like a radio, guys. If we tune the frequency, then boom, there you go. We have our station. And then in the book, they continue saying, is that feeling, mentalizing, speaking, or acting, we tune into the emotions and ideas of all people, incarnate or disembodied, in our range of sympathy. So that's why in that case that Gloria was talking about, the guy and his father. So because there is affinity between those two spirits. Yes, the son was grieving, but also there is some level of affinity between the two guys. A thought emitted by an entity will only be able to reproduce itself in another mind that has affinity with it. That is, that has thoughts and feelings with the same characteristic in its content. So it is the key, right? So we hold that key as we if we do not observe our weaknesses, if we do not observe the quality of our thoughts, then we are attuning with lower spirits or lower quality of thoughts of the spirits. Same way, if we observe our
I gotta hold you up there.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta hold you up there. That picture you showed of a lower being sitting beside a normal being and encouraging that being to drink and smoke. These two spirits are roughly on the same level. No spirit can suddenly come from lower levels to higher levels to sit beside some goody two-shoes and try and prevent that good person doing good things. That breaks with all the knowledge that we read about the dimensions. Lower spirits cannot travel to higher areas and influence people of higher areas. They must be on roughly similar levels. That is my understanding. I mean,
yes.
Please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
No, and we are not saying, we are not disagreeing with you. We are not saying that anything different. and the other thing is, so for example, in this picture over here,
the whole time, right? Giles, that's what we are saying the whole time.
The whole time, yeah. In this picture, for example, is showing, a bad spirit, influencing this person. This kind of influence doesn't happen like this. It takes time. And sometimes it takes a long, long time.
And it's happening because the incarnate person, this man, it's letting happen.
Exactly.
He vibrates, he want to drink, he want to do, so they vibrate,
And
they
wait
connect.
a minute, and has to be roughly on the same level.
Yeah,
yes,
that's
But they are, Giles. The thing that it's when we go to the spiritual plane, sometimes the perispirit, it gets damaged, and so spirits appear to be ugly like this, but it's not because they are lower than us. It's because our real feelings, our real thoughts, they started showing up. We received this body as a gift, so we can spoil the body and the spirit by being the lower realms. Do you understand? By in addiction, like a drug addict that spoils their body, we can do that, but it doesn't mean that we are good or bad people.
Yeah. Thank you, Leda. Hi, Saint.
Yes, I agree with Leda, because I think on what level are we, so that we are influenced by higher and lower spirits? Because we have the evil that's driving us all the time, and we have to overcome it. We have not to give in to them. And so I think that yes, you do have people who will tell you that they hear the voice telling them to do things,
To do
to
things.
go and kill someone.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's not always schizophrenia or something. Sometimes it's spiritual. Agree, Heisen. And then on the next one, then evidently, like we said many times over here, that we are immersed in this ocean of spiritual vibrations, and those vibrations, they range from best to the worst quality, right? We do not perceive it, but it is there. So like Josie said many times, we welcome this vibration by resonance, right? So according to the waves we generate in our way of thinking, feeling, and acting, this is natural, this is simple physics, this is, we will capture the wave of thoughts that we attune with. If there is affinity, the mental circuit will be established. The two minds will feed on this idea in an identity of attunement. Affinity is a necessary premise for that tune to be set. So, and like I think Maria put this together, and I agree with her. Choosing our spiritual company is entirely our responsibility.
I put that together because
oh, you did? Yeah,
it's very important you understand that you own your life. You own everything that happened to you.
You hold the key.
Don't blame nobody. It's all about yourself. You can avoid or you can let it happen. It's only depends on you.
Yeah,
Who then do I blame for my very good luck?
Yourself.
70 years of really good luck.
Absolutely yourself. You emanate this vibration to the universe, and universe bring you back.
Exactly.
He has been making the right choices.
You are making the right choices. So that's why it's a simple nature law, cause and effect, That's no rocket science there. And the third one is obsession. So how those process between communication or mentalization between spirits and incarnated happens by obsession. Again, we are talking about affinity. And in the book, they say obsession, whatever its nature, is independent of mediumship and is found in a large number of people who have never heard of spiritism. I would dare to say that the mental hospice, and especially in the past, most of the patients, probably the case was not physical, was not a mental sickness, but a case of obsession. So it's more common than what we think.
Can I just say one thing? Remember, guys, the obsession only is going to happen if you allow, if you lower your energy and vibration.
Yeah.
So the same thought non-stop.
Yeah. So obsession, both from the point of view of the obsessed person and from the obsessor's perspective, will only occur because human beings still carry in their souls higher rates of shadows than of light. So evidently, as we are not higher beings yet, we are still here dealing with, the shadows of each other. So simple as that. And I guess this is the last one. Oh no, we still have some. And also don't forget about the physical effects, and evidently we talked so many times about it, especially at the beginning of this mechanics of mediumship topic. We know exactly how and why those happen. I mean, how? Because the spirits, they have the perispirit, and through the spirit and using their thoughts, they are able to act over matter, right? And why they do this? To call attention. At the beginning, when Kardec and those I do not know if you watched the movie, but this is a picture from the movie of Allan Kardec. But at the beginning, when he started started working or investigating this phenomena, then remember there were a lot of places in Paris where you could visit, and then you will see those tuning tables, etc. Well, that was a very necessary part. It was not about lower spirits, tuning tables just to amuse people. It was because they wanted to call attention of the society of that time to the reality of the spiritual realm. So they were kind of, come on, guys, wake up. We are here. You need to pay attention. You need to stop what you're doing. Stop on focusing on just, your physical day by day things, and you need to be a little bit more conscious about the spiritual, the reality of the spirit, right? So, oh, this doesn't have an animation. So the questions 469 is, what is the way to neutralize the influence of evil spirits and actions? Josie said many times, by doing good things and putting out trust in God. That's the answer in the spirit. Then you will, in the books of the spirit, and then it continues, you will reject the influence of inferior spirits and cancel the dominion they wish to have over you. Every shadow gap in our personality portrays the greatest shadow. So the spirits help you, suggesting favorable thoughts, but they will only assist those who know how to assist themselves. This is the meaning of these words. Seek and you will find, knock and you will be opened to you. So again, we open the door, we say yay or nay to that suggestion, yay or nay to that help. We are the ones holding the key. So that's why it's so important for us, or for the mediums, and especially for us to respect or to know the medium we are talking about. Know that medium, watch his or her behavior, his or her thoughts, what kind of language and attitude, and then you will know what kind of spirits that medium is talking to. Because mediumship, yes, everybody has it, but what level, what quality of mediumship that person is exercising, right?
So, and Anna, is that one of the things why Chico Xavier was so, everybody admires Chico Xavier, because he has a so high moral compassion. He donated everything, he made everything he came to give himself to everybody. So
yeah, as a matter of fact, we need to since you mentioned him, Chico Xavier, one thing that we need to say about him, he was attacked from all kind of groups and people and media. He had a very hard
all
life.
Religions like him.
Exactly, but that's the thing, because he did hold, he does He didn't disappear. He does hold high moral values. He was not responding. He was never aggressive to anyone. He never opt to violence. He never opt to say anything bad to anybody. He was just
And he would attend everybody. He never asked what religion you are. He never cared. He want to help.
Yeah. So
and can I tell you something? I have one of my best friends here. She's Christian, a lot, like very stricted. So I always the time play with her about spirits and incarnation. She hated. And one day I told her like, oh, and about Chico Xavier, and she like, oh no, Chico Xavier is different.
Yeah, that's true. This is the kind of thing that happens to my mom. Is the same way. My mom is very, very religious, but she will respect the person of Chico Xavier. So that tells a lot about the attitude, about the integrity, about the moral values of the person. That's why it's so important. Then you know what class of spirits Chico Xavier was channeling. Oh, that's it. So we're finished. We're done. Guys, anything else? Any comments?
Thank you, Anna, for giving the class for me, Maria.
Yeah, no problem. You
appreciate.
Yeah. Any comment or questions or?
It's always worth reminding everybody that no matter how it looks, all stories have happy endings.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
All 32 billion of them. And that's just around here, around this planet.
Exactly.
So we need reminding of this. I need reminding of this on a frequent basis. All stories have happy endings.
Exactly. It may take 1,000 years, but yeah,
we should put the 2 cents in our channel on the bottle. One size don't fit all.
I will. It may take thousands of years, but it will be a happy end. Yeah, I agree. Gloria.
Yeah, Charles, that quote is, everything will be all right in the end. If it's not all right, it's not the end.
Exactly.
Anna, when you read this last sentence, you said, this is the meaning of these words. Seek and you will find. Knock and you will be open to you, is how you read it. And I thought that is so true, because if we don't, I'm getting back to self-knowledge. We have to have self-knowledge of what our weaknesses are and how to turn ourselves to God in prayer to ask for guidance and strength. Or we're going to be adversely influenced, because it was like last week, you weren't here. I read out of the Medium's book. Let me read the quote again. Hold on a second. It was the moral elevation of Jesus that gave him boundless power over what in his day were called devils, that is to say, evil and obsessing spirits. He knew that they were trying to pull him down. And so he held the high ground like Chico did. And that when you read that, and you will be open to you, that has been so true for me. It wasn't until I got involved in self-knowledge that all this other opened up to me as a possibility. Self-knowledge is for me, it's been crucial. So when you read that, it was very powerful for me, because you said, and you will be open to you. And that's exactly what happened for me.
Yeah, that's true. I remember when I was a kid, my mom, when she taught me how to pray, and then in her, evidently she was doing, what she knew better. So in her way, she was telling us to pray because of evil things, and evil, you have to protect yourself from evil because evil people, that. And then not too long later, I realized that where the evil is coming from. Me, my own self, right? My weaknesses. As as evidently I'm not perfect. I'm far away from being a higher being. So I will be the one bringing the weaknesses. I will be the one bringing the troubles to my own life, depending on my choices, depending on decisions I make. So then I started praying, please put me on the right way, put me, even though, do not give up on me. Sometimes I'm not looking at the right way, I'm not thinking straight, but do not give up on me. Keep on, guiding me all the time, because it's so easy to be misled because of our weaknesses, right?
Anna, we've got
Yes, no,
Hyacinth. We need
yes.
Hyacinth to tell us something.
No, it was just agreeing with Anna. I was going to say, saying what Anna said, that it's a lot of it is from the choices we make.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is what gets us so very often. But then we are influenced by inner thoughts. And where do these inner thoughts come from?
Exactly.
So that it's a process, and we just have to be aware, so that when you get something, you can put it away, because
Bye,
you know,
Anna.
no, that's not it. Go away.
Say hi to Merlin for me.
Merlin, he didn't show up today, but yeah, I agree, Hyacinth. I like when you say it is a process. It will not happen overnight. It is a process, and you know what? We need to be patient with ourselves. It's gonna take a day, 2 days, years, but we need to be patient, because it is not a steep learning curve.
It's a steep learning curve. Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Mhm.
All right. So
I'm still learning.
yeah.
Hyacinth, let me tell you, you're wonderful. And whenever I disagree with you, you're actually right. And I am just making noise.
No.
So let me give you a hug over the airwaves.
Oh, wonderful. I can't live without hugs. Thank you.
Well, guys, it was wonderful having you guys here. Virtual hugs to everybody.
Guys, everybody, let's go to Houston. We need to experience. Come on.
So see you guys next Saturday then.
Okay, bye-bye.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.